Welcome to another episode of Chat with Kat, where I have real chats with real people about real life. And today we are going to get real because we are talking about conspiracies. And if you guys didn't guess, Samirah is the guest that I have on for the conspiracy theory chat as my second time guest comer honor, I guess. So welcome, Samirah. I'm so excited to have you on
Thank
today.
you. So excited to be here.
Yeah, it's going to get juicy today. So, in diving into conspiracies, I know we were chatting about this on before we did the first Zoom, and then we're like, we need to just do a whole thing on it. So, what conspiracies have come up, and what is it like? Actually, first, what is your view around conspiracies, and how do you feel about the word conspiracy theory?
So it's really, really interesting, the word conspiracy theory, and it almost has this like negative connotation to it as well, of like you're like people can be perceived as like crazy or
Yeah.
yeah, just that's often what I find. And I didn't really know of the word until I got older. And it's really interesting because even as a young person, I used to really delve into all of these things like the Illuminati, and like I used to watch these videos on YouTube about, you know, like some of my favorite celebrities at the time apparently worshiping the devil. Like just as a child, like literally, I know parents need to get stop giving me access, but but yeah, but for the longest time I always questioned everything around me as well. And it wasn't until I was older and would share my thought processes or the things I believed about the world to, the people around me, then that's when the word like conspiracy theory dropped on me. And I was like, what does that even mean? What is a conspiracy theory? Like, are you guys not actually questioning what we're seeing right in front of us right now?
Right.
Yeah, so that's sort of my experience and take on it.
Yeah, mine was I always thought things were kind of off. Like I always had like an intuitive nudge in my life. And it wasn't really until COVID where it was just like everything's in my face. What the heck's going on? It's like your whole world gets flipped upside down and everything that you've believed to be true, or not even just something that you believe to be true, but like the way that life is lived is like the complete opposite of now
Mm,
what it is meant for.
100%. And I think it's tricky too, like maybe even depending on like your age bracket and all of those stuff, and maybe even the amount of time you've been conditioned inside of the normal sort of space. Like I know for my parents, um, talking about all of this stuff, that would just be so like out of their awareness. Like my mum's very like watches the news, like is very like following all of the rules, doesn't want to do anything like wrong in the eyes of
Wow.
society. But then we suppose, we there's also the other side of that where, there's been people who fully awakened in the older age bracket. But I feel like it would be so much more intense if you've spent, a couple of decades of your lifetime conditioned to know a certain way of society versus being a younger person. And, even just collectively, the awakening began only, you know, as a young person.
Yeah.
So I find that it's not as like crazy as opposed to what it would be for the older generations.
Yeah, and like you said, it really just depends on how you've lived your life up until the point that you kind of your eyes are open to everything going on. Because I remember having chats with my dad even like 6 years ago, 8 years ago. He's like, "Oh, there's this conspiracy." And I would just roll my eyes because I'm like, oh, whatever. Like I didn't pay no mind to any of that stuff. I just lived my life. And then now it's like, huh, these theories aren't theories anymore. They're truths. So it's just getting labeled that way because they don't want people to know the truth of what's actually going on, which is crazy. So what are one or two conspiracies that really just kind of blew your mind at first?
Um, there's a lot. There's a lot. It can get really, really hectic. But I think for starters, like what really blew my mind first and foremost was that we are the creators of our reality,
Yes.
for starters. And learning about energetics and learning about like the magnetic field of the earth and ourselves, like how we're literally like a magnet, and the thoughts that we have and the feelings that we have is consistently attracting one another. And I feel like when you really delve into that, you can fully just transform your life for the better.
Yeah.
So when we look at that, that we are the creator and our vibration is consistently attracting the reality that we are living. And then we also hold the other thing of just like how the society's been constructed. That blew my mind as well because it's so perfectly orchestrated to keep people in fear, which is a low frequency, which would allow a lot of normal everyday people to consistently have a shit life, really, when we look
Yeah.
at how society is constructed. And it's fully like taken people away from their own power. And not only that, there's a power that exists within everyone that most people aren't even aware of.
Mm.
So that's what blows my mind
Yes.
is the power that's innate within each and every single person. And that's been like conditioned out of us and then perpetuated like in this cycle that we know to be our world.
Yeah. I think the two big specific ones for me were celebrities and movies, and then everything to do with consumerism. So, like our food, our hygiene products, everything we use in our house, how it's all being fed to us that it's like, oh, you have to use this. It says organic or clean or whatever. And like all the ingredients and things are just wildly disgusting. And it's not even about when you look at nutrition anymore, it's not even about calories in, calories out. It's like, what actual ingredients is this food made of? And then,
Honestly.
let alone anything you use, like your shampoo, your face products, your deodorant, your toothpaste, the fluoride in the water, like all of these things that we've been using so long, thinking that, oh, it's just normal. We just use all this stuff. And it's actually what is hindering us from tapping into that energy, tapping into that creativity, because it's like slowly poisoning us through all these chemical reactions in our body, and our body's trying to figure out, like, how do I get rid of it? So when you're trying to figure out how to just daily function within your system, you can't focus on the higher energy. You can't focus on connecting to your intuition and all these other things.
Mm. Yeah, it's all literally just there, like to either distract people, like the movies, the entertainment industry, like all of that is literally just there as a distraction. And then we have on the other side of that, all of these industries that all get to coexist together because, we think about, the very things that are funding like our meat industries are the same ones who like the diseases. Like here in Australia, a lot of the like meat industry is being funded by breast cancer research and all of these, companies that are supposed to be there to support you when you're unwell. Like
Mm.
they all like feed into one another. And if one of them stops making money, then so does the other. So of course, they're going to want to continue that loop of, making people sick through what they're consistently consuming and
Yeah.
distracting themselves with so they can all continue to make money.
Yeah. Like the pharmaceutical companies, all of that kind of stuff is all linked together. Because,
Mm.
like, we already know how to not be sick. We already know how to not have disease and illness, but it's all then all of those industries collapse. You don't need to go to the doctor. You don't need to go to the dentist. You don't need to have all these drugs. You don't need to have all these toothpaste and flosses and mouthwashes and like all of these things for people to buy, which they're then buying and using their hard-earned money, you know, to buy all this stuff that they think is making them well when it's not.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's where
And
people get stuck in that
mm,
hamster
absolutely.
wheel. Yeah.
And it can be like quite confronting too, like when you see all of these things happen, I think it's important to, recognize that the more darkness that comes through, that comes to light, that's more people awakening to their power. Like there's the law of balance that plays out, a universal law, and it's like you can't have one without the other. So the only reason why more darkness is surfacing is because more people are beginning to awaken to their power as well, which I think is important to remember. Like,
Absolutely. Which is pretty cool.
amazing. Amazing. And like, you know, I truly believe that the only reason as well that this darkness is coming to light is because of the collective awakening that is happening.
Yes, absolutely. Because if there was no awareness of it, then like, you wouldn't notice it.
Exactly.
No one would know what was going on. We'd all still be like in that illusion
Mm,
that we're just living our life.
yeah, 100%. And I think like it's important as well, like as you're navigating through it, to not just consume all of the conspiracies, all the things that are happening in the world. I think it's great
Mm,
to be aware of it, to see what's happening, so then you can then decide what to do moving forward. Because I think a lot of people, why they're actually afraid to look at it is because they've literally been taught and conditioned for the longest time, not what to think, but how to think. And they've
yeah,
always been taught like they're literally being taught on like for someone to change things for them. Like when we look at the elections of like what happens in the US, like there's this consistent battle between who should go into, presidency. And so many people are thinking that their situation's going to change dependent on who goes into presidency. But that's not actually going to happen. You aren't going to be affected based on who's on a leader of your country,
no,
because you're a sovereign being. You get to choose what happens for you day in, day out. It's not dictated externally.
yeah. And I think that is a tough one for some people to wrap their head around too, is like, but how can I not control what's going on around me, you know? And it
Mm,
it does get overwhelming in the beginning when you start to become aware that these aren't just theories. And there's definitely rabbit holes to go down, but that is the best thing too, is like I just encourage people all the time, like look at them as an observer. Like don't get emotionally attached to all this, because that's what is happening already, is like they know how to tug on people's emotions to get them to buy more products, consume more, live in this like hamster wheel of life where you're always stressed out, overwhelmed, burnt out. But once you become aware that like you can actually do whatever, it's like, hey, now what's the next step? Like, how do we navigate our life by going within and not letting everything outside of us that's out of our control affect us?
mm, absolutely. And I think it gets to be really simple. I know it can seem overwhelming at start, but just start by like, firstly, becoming aware of how you currently operate
Mm,
and what are the existing belief systems that you have right now. And even just the basics of like, are you drinking enough water, like filtered water? Are you eating well, like whole foods, and just minimizing the amount of packaged foods that you're eating,
yeah.
moving your body every single day and getting sunlight and minimizing your screen time. Like if you literally started there, you will already notice significant changes in how you operate within your body and how much more energy you're going to have. And then the next thing's just going to lead to the other. you'll then start to recognize, you might then start to have more energy to connect with people. And then you'll end up having conversations where you'll learn about this thing. So then you delve into that, and the path will always open up and lead you to the next. So,
Yeah, absolutely. It allows you to become open to more rather than closed off to little.
hmm. But I suppose, yeah, it begins by, yeah, not continuing to
Consume.
play out the same fears. Like if you're just literally just sharing about conspiracies and in like a way of like, people are wanting to do it from a place of, educating and all of those things, but then it ends up turning no different to what the news does. It puts people into a state of fear, which then ends up disempowering versus empowering them. So what I would love to see change within people wanting to educate is to also give people tangible tools on what they can do moving forward.
Yeah. Well, and you can tell people's intention when you're really in tune,
Oh
you know?
yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Like the intention can be there, but that doesn't mean they're gonna deliver that result.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
It just becomes everything really is once you go within, once you understand yourself, your beliefs, your thoughts, your mindset, and how powerful you actually are, is when the shift really starts to happen and you just start to know the next steps. Like things just start to align, your path becomes clear. Um, the obstacles and challenge that you will still face, you just know it's for the betterment of you getting to your next level. It's not like debilitating and defeating and discouraging anymore. You're like, wow, this is showing me that I have the power to get through it, you know?
yes. Mm,
So this journey can be very, very enlightening, very empowering, but it's
oh
just
yeah.
becoming aware that everything you have, you already have inside you. And what is not in your control, do not focus on. That's what I've been going back to this month is if it's not in my control, what can I focus on? What is in my control?
Oh, I love that.
Been doing that all month. It helps a lot, especially right now when there's just chaos everywhere. People are out just, it's nuts right now.
Yeah,
But I'm
yeah.
like, what's in my control? What's not, you know? Even
Mm,
driving. If people just irritate you driving sometimes, like the roads are busy. I don't drive when it's really busy most of the time, but you can just say, hey, is this person's energy in my control or out of my control? And they probably have to poo. So it's out of my control.
yeah,
Wish you the best. Like,
yeah, yeah. I think that's like such an important thing. Is like we never really know like what's happening for the other person. All we have is our own perception. And if we're not aware of what our perceptions are, just with the way society's been built, 9 times out of 10, it's probably going to be negative if you aren't aware.
yeah.
And we, and it's normal to think that that person did it to us
Mm,
rather than, so when you start to recognize those moments, like just practicing compassion, knowing that like what someone is experiencing or what is happening on that side, like has nothing to do with you, and just holding love and compassion and curiosity,
yeah.
like what you just did, like maybe he needs to poo, you know?
That is the best way to disarm your emotional attachment is just think of something funny
Yeah.
like that. Like if someone cuts you off in traffic, you don't go give them the finger. You're like, that guy got to poo. Okay.
Yeah,
Like, he's got to get
literally.
somewhere.
Honestly. Because at the end of the day, if you give someone the rude finger, you might feel powerful in that moment, but you're literally then just like reducing your frequency
Yeah.
in that moment because that's the energy that you're putting out there. So that's what you're going to end up getting back. And that's when people often begin to spiral.
Mm.
It's like that saying of like when people say when they wake up on the wrong side of the bed,
Yeah.
and then they get up and then they kick their toe and like fucking hell, and then they spill their coffee and it just like it keeps spiraling down. It's like, well, what would happen if every single morning instead you began to train your mind to shift the focus to gratitude? So you're waking up and then choosing to be grateful that you woke up, and then like thinking and feeling three things to be grateful for. Like if you literally just started doing that every
Love
single
it.
day, like that will ripple and you'll begin to actually reprogram your mind for gratitude rather than where it's
Yeah.
been programmed now as fear.
It changes everything. I do that with my dogs. Like I'm not consistently doing it every morning, but I'll wake up and I always like, good morning, da, 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 and then I'm like, what can we be grateful for right now? And then I'll just like
Oh,
start listing off a few things and then, they get all excited and then they come snuggle and it's just like a magical moment. Yeah, it is quite. I'm looking out my window and I see the trails and I'm like, that's another one. But it's so
yes.
funny. People are like, it's just condensation. And I'm like, have you ever thrown hot water outside and it just does the vapor just stay there?
Yeah. I what people say it is like oh the airplanes before they land they have to release gas. Otherwise, if they land, it'll blow up. So whenever I see like those lines, that's like
Hmm.
often what people say. And I'm like, and do you know what's crazy is that the trails are so much more intense in Europe than they are actually here.
They are wild here.
I haven't actually seen the US, but yeah, in Europe, it's very, very intense. And it's crazy too, because you even just like the frequency of Europe is also very different. So I'm going to be going and spending more time in the US next year. So I'm really excited to
We'll
see.
have to, yeah, we'll have to meet up.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be fun. But yeah, there's so much with conspiracies. Like this could be 7-part episode series of all the different ones like we could break down and then showcase to people like don't get wrapped up in this and whatever. Like we'll just touch on even like celebrities and how, people are emotionally attached to these celebrities. Like how many people love Taylor Swift? There wouldn't be billions of dollars going to her concerts if people weren't emotionally involved in wanting to see her and wanting to be in that environment.
Mm.
But a lot of times too, like when you go to those concerts and stuff, like what people aren't realizing is it's energy, you know? Like she's getting a lot of energy from the crowd, but you have to also watch what energy you're going in there with, what energy is coming back to you.
Absolutely. It's so important.
Because that's why you see some concerts where people just start going crazy. Because it's just the energy, it's the music, it's the combination of everything, like the frequencies of the music, even.
Yeah. Like actually like going into frequency and like music and the sound and all of that. Did you ever hear about that room? Uh there was like this story about a hotel room where every time someone stayed in there, they would actually end up killing themselves. And there was this whole story about it. And what they found was there was like a frequency of the room because there was like the aircon or like it was electrical sort of like frequency that was like playing out and it actually like sent people crazy when they went to that room. And it was like this whole thing. And that's the power of like frequency and how that can play out for
Yeah.
people. Like, if you don't know what frequency is, look at the emotional guidance scale. So, if you look up the emotional guidance scale, you'll see all of the emotions and they operate at a frequency. And
Mhm.
where you are consistently, that's what you continuously sort of attract. So, have a look at that.
Yeah, that's a really good tool to use. And just even like when you're listening to music and stuff, because I'm not saying people shouldn't, but think of how it makes you feel. Like, songs that really just like pull this energy out of, and you just feel like energized and excited. Like, there's certain songs I love working out to because it like taps me into beast mode, and I'm like, I'm gonna crush it. And then there's certain songs that come on, I'm like, yeah, they're fun, but it's more like, I want to have a dance party, you know? And
Mm,
then, there's other songs like I used to listen to Disturbed and Katy Perry were like my two jams for like ever. I had their CDs,
love it.
everything. But then it's like, you know, people are like, you like Disturbed and Katy Perry. Like those are complete opposite things,
Yeah,
but
I was
it's
like
like
polar opposite.
how it made me feel in those times. I just connected with it and it like supported me and lifted me up. And there's purpose and intention for everything in your life as long as you're aware that it's either lifting you up and adding to your energy or it's draining it. Like when people
Yeah,
come home from a,
absolutely.
a long day and they're like, "Oh, I'm so tired, like exhausted." Well, what did you do to fill your cup? Like you're always first. Your job doesn't come first. The people that you drive by don't come first. Like your family, even like people argue this, they don't come first. You come first. You have to put into your cup first.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like it goes back to the same thing of like the law of balance. It's like the yin and the yang. There's good in the bad and there's bad in the good. So I'm not saying that obviously all music is bad, that every
No.
celebrity is bad. And, there's obviously really great people that are in there that are creating impact and wanting to do all the things. But it's just becoming aware of what you're consuming, because you can even listen to lyrics of songs and they might not even necessarily be bad people, but it's like you're consistently um like programming yourself with the words that you say, the words that you hear, and that's ultimately going to dictate the quality of your life. So if you're listening to lyrics that are like disempowering,
Mm,
that's just going to perpetuate the loop of disempowerment inside of your life.
yeah. Well, that's something I wasn't aware of before. Like I just liked the song because I liked the song. Like
Yeah,
it was like some songs, yeah, it's the lyrics because it's like, like I don't even know any songs off the top of my head, but like I've been listening to a lot of melodic songs lately that don't have any words. And there's
oh,
one where I just like, instead of it having words, what I do is my own self-concept with it. So for that whole 3 minutes, I'm just like, I'm confident, I'm strong, I'm in beast mode. No workout can make me stop. Like I'm getting stronger, leaner, healthier every day. And like my business is booming, clients are coming. I'm just like, say it over and over. Whatever comes to my head, like I wish I could record it and listen at the same time.
literally.
It's just great to like have things that empower you, that fill your cup, whether it's first thing in the morning, while you're driving, throughout the day, anything like that. Like there are some pretty powerful songs that have some amazing words that you just leave and you're like, wow, I can do anything I want. Like
Honestly, like I'm not even like Christian, but I literally listen to Hillsong because I just
Hillsong's
fucking
so good. It's true though. I was like, there was one song they had, and I just listened to it over and over and over. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head though.
Yeah, I feel like Oceans is like one of their popular songs that everyone knows. Um, but yeah, otherwise, really incredible. And the last thing I feel like to touch on is the drones and the sighting that people are like feeling. Have you been seeing that? It's
I've
in
seen
Jersey.
some videos, but like I haven't, again, like some things I'll like look into, but others I'm like,
Mm. So I'm just saying, don't be surprised if we start hearing about like alien contacts and all of those things in the next couple of years. I reckon they're going to start connecting with us. Don't think they like the words aliens, um, but
interdimensional beings.
yeah, interdimensional beings. Yes. So that's really exciting.
I know. I think it's cool, man.
Mm, that yes, that we're getting to a point of consciousness where we are going to be able to coexist. So that's really exciting. What a
Well, it's
cliffhanger to leave the podcast on. They're gonna be like, "Why? What do you mean?" And people start freaking out about aliens.
the end.
To be continued.
Well, maybe that's just it, though. Like maybe we can do a to be continued, and in a couple weeks from now, when more stuff comes out, because we're at the end of the year and then there's a new year. So in the new year, maybe the middle of January, we'll get back on again. Because if you look at the beginning of this year, how many things happened in January. It was wild. It was like every other day there was something else going on. And I'm like, I can't keep up with this. And I even saw this TikTok where this guy, it was like probably halfway through the year, he started doing these songs where he just went really fast and he's like, in January, da 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 da, in February, da 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 da, and like would just spit out all the stuff that's happened. And I was
Mm,
like, yeah.
classic. Classic.
But yeah, maybe we can do that and then bring on a part two. So anybody that is watching, all y'all that are watching, get in the comments, tell us what you want to talk about. Tell us the conspiracies that have like opened your eyes, that maybe are leaving you a little unsure of like what direction to take, and that we can offer guidance on it. And we'll do a part two.
Absolutely.
So exciting. I love these things. Is there anything else you want to say? We will obviously put everything in the show notes to connect with us, you guys.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think just one foot in front of the other.
Mm,
Focus on the things that you can control, as you said earlier, and just go back to basics. Like, how
mm,
can you fuel your body in the bestest ways? How can you be more proactive about what you're consuming, not just food wise, but like, what are you listening to? What are the words that you're saying? Because your body will literally take everything personally. It doesn't know the difference between reality and fantasy. What you think
mm.
about, you bring about.
1,000%. Great, great, great advice. I do agree with all that too. And if you're in Canada, where the sun is hit and miss right now because we're in winter, um, a lot of people are like, "Oh, get sunlight," and I'm like, "Yeah, for 3 days we haven't had any, but okay."
True.
And it is -20, and the wind is very cold. I don't like going and sitting outside in the sun when it's like that,
Yeah, no, that's not possible. So yeah.
but yeah, it is
Well,
like everything will form your beliefs and allow you to be open. And if you guys are ever like unsure, just ask yourself, like,
yeah,
what's the next step? What do I do from here? What are my beliefs? Like if you ask and then you sit and listen, you'll get ideas that just pop in your head and you're going to be like, "Whoa, where'd that come from?"
literally.
Yeah, well, thank you so much again for coming on and being a guest again. It's just such a blessing to have people from around the world to be able to connect with you guys. And yeah, just always, always a pleasure.
Amazing. Have a great time. Thanks for having me on. This was such an excellent chat. I'm really excited for what's to come.
Me too. And then we'll put where to connect with both of us in the show notes and enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.